Hello and welcome to another episode of Water Cooler Wisdom. I am Jake Blocker.
And I'm Rachael Grail.
Rachel, happy fall. Well, whenever this goes out, it's probably January or something, but happy fall now.
It's so nice. There's
Mhm.
it's like kind of a misty, foggy day where I am, and the trees are all different colors. I love it. Cozy, sweater weather.
I got my cardigan on, one of my mini. Yeah. Well, Thanksgiving is around the corner. And again, this is probably going to be Happy New Year whenever this actually goes out. But I'll ask a Thanksgiving themed question for our own setting. What is your favorite Thanksgiving meal?
Stuffing. Oh, yeah, stuffing. I don't even have to think about it. Stuffing all day, every day. Yum.
Yeah. Controversial. I'm not a big stuffing guy. I don't like it.
Well, maybe you just, it depends. Some people call it dressing. Some people call it stuffing. I find the tastiness of it is a broad spectrum. So if you've ever had my mom's stuffing, you would probably love it.
Maybe change my mind. Yeah. I've had some good stuff in the day. Cause I feel like it varies depending on the Thanksgiving you go to, it's different.
Yeah.
All the items tend to change a little bit.
You can't always trust the stuff, but it is in my world so good. What's your favorite? Like consistent, you love it no matter what.
Something I always make for it is sweet potato pie. So rather than a pumpkin pie, I go sweet potato pie, make it totally from scratch, everything.
Of course.
And it's one of my faves. And anything sweet potato related, I like. Big sweet potato guy.
I love that. Yeah. I've got a friend, shout out to Uriah Duffy. His birthday's in July, but he loves Thanksgiving meals. Like that's his favorite food. And so often for his birthday, he'll have like a full Thanksgiving dinner with his friends. And they always deep fry the turkey, which is like, don't try it at home if you don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we have another tool time for today. I know.
Yeah.
Perfect segue to our topic. Not really, but we'll make it work.
It can be.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I can weave that in to my description of this tool.
It's totally possible. Yeah. So we have another tool time. It's our second one. We are going to remind you, this is going to be, we'll have 10 minutes to go over a tool, one of IA's popular tools. And Rachel's going to kind of lead the discussion on what this is and in 10 minutes. And last time we just missed it, but I still gave it to you. We still did it, but you did advanced stuff after, so I give it to you.
I feel like we need to up the stakes here. I'm looking for a prize if I can make it in time.
Yeah. I think it can happen. All right, so I'm going to set the timer or the stopwatch. So the tool is going to be open, narrow, close. And Rachel, go.
All right. So open, narrow, close. We're not talking about a doorway here. Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is a way of thinking about how a conversation moves from the beginning of the conversation through the different ideas that people have to offer to a decision. So, this is not about when you're just trying to make a decision on your own. This is about when you're trying to make a decision with others. So when we teach this concept, we use this image of a diamond where the open is the first half, representing divergent thinking, kind of generating ideas, offering proposals, having a brainstorm, things like that. The narrow is a sliver of the second half of the diamond, where the thinking kind of begins to converge. You start to organize your ideas, maybe analyze like the priorities. And then the close is the point of the diamond. That's where the decision has been made. Mm-hmm. So what's really powerful about this concept is that you start to realize there are different things happening in different parts of a conversation. Like I said, the open is about idea generation and clarification. For example, if you were with your family and you're trying to figure out what items you were going to have for Thanksgiving dinner, you might say, okay, if you're some kind of family, say, I have a proposal. Let's not cook. Let's go to this restaurant that is open on Thanksgiving and we'll let somebody else handle it, right? So that's a very narrow opening is a proposal. Generally, we have slightly larger openings. You can adjust the aperture like a list. All right, let's make a list of all of the items that could be at Thanksgiving dinner, or let's just brainstorm. Like maybe we want to get out of the box thinking and we don't want to have a turkey this year. We want to have a tofurkey, or we want to have a ham, or whatever it is. And so you want to brainstorm and just like blast open the thinking. So you can adjust the aperture depending on how complex the decision is, how much information you want. Once you've got all of that information, you want to make sure that you clarify. Like somebody might say, I don't know what a tofurkey is. That sounds terrible. What is it? And then you describe it and they're like, oh, okay, I might eat that.
Still sounds terrible.
So, or like, what's a turducken? If that's on the list. So you might need to clarify. And the important part here is that everybody knows what you're talking about, because sometimes what I mean by an idea is not what someone else perceives. So you want to generate ideas, you want to clarify those ideas, and then you start to narrow it down. There's lots of tools. I'm not going to go into the teaching of all the tools, but there's lots of different ways that we can take the ideas that people have generated and start to get a sense for what the group is naturally inclined towards. And we can prioritize and say, okay, let's look at the group thinking here. What do we think? All right, let's go this. So we start to organize the information, prioritize the things that we have generated in the open. And then if you do that work well, you can close on a decision. The big idea about this whole thing is that your first priority should be for everybody who's involved in the conversation to know what stage you're in. What is the activity that you're engaged in this part of the conversation, so that everybody can be focused on doing that thing. Because if we're getting close to a decision and someone says like, okay, well, it sounds like we've talked about it and we want these 5 things and that's all we can have because we don't have room on the table for more than these items. And then somebody else is like, wait a minute, what if we just actually like fly to Mexico for Thanksgiving? Right. And now you're back in the open, and then everybody throws up their hands and they're frustrated because all the work has already been done. So you want to make sure that you do each process completely so that people can feel like, okay, we've gotten all the ideas out. We've organized the ideas in a way that starts to reveal the thinking about what people naturally prioritize. And then once we've done that, we can make a decision. That allows you to keep a group together and not have this like herding wild turkeys sort of an experience. I'm just like holding on to this analogy till the end of time.
Thanksgiving, yep.
So, at its whole, open, narrow, close is about taking a group through a decision-making conversation in a clear way so that everyone's working on the same space at the same time. Like I said, there's all kinds of different tools and techniques depending on how complex the problem is. And you might not go through the whole stages in one conversation. You might need several months to just open on ideas if you're, say, starting a new business and you've got lots of different complex things to generate. So there's no hard and fast rule for how long each of these spaces take. But the main thing to remember is that know what it is that you're doing and communicate that to others so that they can be clear about what they're doing with you.
Yeah, I love that because I think of, just today, coincidentally, we did an open session with marketing content. And how you said, you can divide it up over time. That's what we did. This today was just open. We came to the table with some ideas and going to share these ideas and then just focus on that today. Nothing else. Don't worry about narrowing. Don't worry about looking for duplicate ideas. Don't get too far into the weeds of what one idea is. Just let it all flow. Something else to mention is you can have people assigned to different pieces. So for example, maybe it's an entire team or entire organization, whatever it is, a larger group is responsible for the open to bring together all these ideas. And then the agreement is that maybe it's 3 or so people are going to be responsible for that narrow and close portion.
Right. What I love about what you just said is that when you say to people, we're just in the open, then it's like it frees up the thinking. People are like, okay, I don't have to analyze whether this will actually work. I'm not going to decide on the solution. People naturally, I naturally have a tendency to jump to a decision and be like,
Oh,
oh,
same.
well, great, that one sounds good. Let's do it, before really thinking things through all the way. And that can be a real risk especially when you're in business, you're trying to come up with the best solution. If you don't allow thinking to be big enough, you might not come up with the best solution.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about assigning different tasks to different people. There's so many different ways that you can do this. You can generate ideas asynchronously, and so that people just kind of have some quiet thinking time on their own. And then you come together and clarify and start to see if there are duplicates, prioritize them, see where the group is kind of leaning towards in terms of things that are floating to the top. So there's a lot of different ways. It's a really flexible tool, but it's a great way. When people learn this, they're like, oh my gosh, now I understand why all the conversations with my team go off the rails, or now I understand why my husband drives me up the walls. It's because he's always opening when I'm trying to close. So
I love it.
I talk a lot about these tools make the invisible visible. There's like these invisible things that are just happening in the way we work together. And when we have an understanding of the stages of conversation and how we're opening, narrowing, and closing on different ideas, it's like, oh, I see the matrix, right?
Yeah. Well, you have a minute and about 15 seconds. Do you want to give one narrow tool, just like quickly in a minute, give a narrow tool?
Yes, I would love to give this tool, which we call N over 3. This is something that's a quick way of seeing the group thinking. It's like seeing where the group is leaning towards. And it's where you take all of the items on the list that have been clarified and you've already like scanned for duplicates and removed true duplicates. You say, okay, we've got all these items. Let's figure out what's the top third that people think are the best things to move forward with, the best ideas to move forward with. This is not making a decision. This is not a vote. This is just getting enough of an idea of what people are leaning towards. And so you take the whole number of items, you divide that number by 3, and then you have people choose whatever. Say we've got 12 items, then we say, okay, we divide it by 3, that's 4 items. Choose the 4 items that you think should be considered for the final decision. And so then people choose those items. You can record that in various ways, have people come up to a flip chart or annotate it online or write it down or share it, however you want to do it logistically. But then you start to see, oh, okay, there's some obvious overlap here.
Yeah.
You start to see the themes, and it's not a vote. It's not a said and done. Nobody's making any agreements. Don't freak out. Your sweet potato pie can still come to dinner. But it's a great way to start moving the decision along.
Love it. Well, we went 10:25, but that's fine. That
was a setup.
That was a setup. I know. I did that to you. I know. Sorry. Wow, that was great. Opening or close is one of the most universal tools that literally anyone, any organization, or any department can use, and any scale too.
And I will say, we've been making a lot of choices in our company. We just had a 2-day leadership summit, and we had a lot of information to sort through and a lot of things to decide on. And we used open, narrow, close, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. It just
expedited the process so much.
It was amazing. So it really allows you to get work done in a way that is organized and rational and productive. It's like, hallelujah. For someone that's a little bit of a creative thinker like myself, it's so nice to be like, oh, okay, I can relax into the process. I know we're going to move it forward. Good plug for this tool.
Yeah.
I feel like there's one more thing I want to say since we're already over time.
Yes. Go for it.
If you're someone that's leading groups and you're interested in knowing all the personalities on your team, look out for people have different sort of affinities for or preferences for one or the other of these stages.
Yeah.
Some people love idea generation. Some people are all about like organizing and analyzing. Some people are just like, can we make the decision and move on? And so if you can start to observe this happening in your groups, you might see like, oh yeah, that person's a closer or that person's an opener. And you want to make sure that you give everybody the time that they need to feel satisfied. Well, watch out for that, because those people will not intentionally, not out of any malicious intent, but they will derail your decision-making process just because of their own natural affinity for one or the other stage.
Yeah. That's a good call. Yeah, because I know I'm usually let's just make the decision. I don't care. I'm done.
No, really?
I know, it's crazy. Yep.
Shocker.
I know.
For those of you who can't tell, that's sarcasm in my voice. Yeah. Loving, sarcasm. Kind sarcasm.
We all got to have our affinities towards something.
And we got to have the closers. I mean, God bless them. And it's like, we need every part. Everybody has a part to play. So
yeah.
Cheers to you, closer Jake.
Yes, cheers to those closers. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. This is great. Another productive one. Yeah. So we'll catch you next time.
All right. See you at the water cooler.
Thanks for listening to Water Cooler Wisdom. This podcast is brought to you by Interaction Associates, a leading professional development and leadership training organization whose mission is to help people work better together. If you'd like to learn more, visit interactionassociates.com. If you have questions, comments, or are interested in collaborating with this podcast, you can email us at watercoolerwisdom@interactionassociates.com.